internet of value at Ripple, we're thinking much bigger than just cross-border payments. It's kind of like Amazon with rare books in the early days, just this market happens to be a $10 trillion market.
We are at a historic turning point.
Said in the past that you are doing for money what email did for communication.
Moving the whole revolution forward.
There's trillions of dollars parked around the world.
XRP.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over SWIFT one day?
Well,
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 12 of Our Script. Let's get right into today's video. Tony McLaughlin from Citibank is talking about how wouldn't it be nice if we had a shared ledger once we start tokenization. Folks, you do not want to miss this because Ripple, XRP are behind the scenes in stealth mode, laying out the foundations of the new financial system. Welcome back to another episode. This is the panel discussion that took place with Tony McLaughlin and D-Raj. D-Raj is working at Finestra. If you guys know, Finestra and Ripple are partners. Ripple to bring blockchain technology to Finestra's banking customers. And here we have Finestra and Ripple PDF. We have Finestra / Ripple connectivity and the RippleNet cloud. And their collaboration is to pretty much connect Finestra's customers with RippleNet partners. So they're going to utilize, so Citibank and Finestra, they're partners. So Citibank could utilize RippleNet to connect with RippleNet partners. This is going to be a massive, massive spider web effect when this all goes into play, and XRP is going to have a very, very important role. But before I play the video by Tony McLaughlin, listen to their gain insights on part. They're talking about regulation, standards, and interoperability. If you guys recall yesterday's video, Susan Friedman, Jerome Powell, and Ryan Rugg from Citi. Susan Friedman talking about interoperability and setting standards. And then, of course, Jerome Powell talking about this private entity will receive the highest level of regulatory expectations. And then Ryan Rugg talking about we don't need a Citi coin. Forget the Citi coin. We need cross-border liquidity.
Projects will need to come together to agree on some common standards and protocols that will enable interoperability. And we think that they can do this while drawing on the knowledge and infrastructure that the private sector has to offer to accelerate these initiatives.
Potentially a global currency governed only by the incentives of a private company is something that will deserve and will receive the highest level of regulatory expectations.
But our clients don't want a Citi token or another bank token. What they want is cross-bank, cross-border liquidity.
And now listen to what Tony McLaughlin has to say here very closely, folks.
Let's say that there are over 20,000 banks on the planet. Every one of those banks has their own data center. They have their own ledger within those data centers. And what we have in traditional financial messaging infrastructures is messaging between those databases. And messaging between those databases and market infrastructures that do one kind of thing. So the tokenization thesis is basically, comes down to this: wouldn't it be great if we started to transact on shared ledgers which were Turing complete, programmable, and what efficiencies and innovation could be unlocked from that kind of setup? A contrast between the existing fragmented structure of our databases, which is currently represented by 20,000 plus separate islands.
And that's how the conversations sound in 2023. And we know Ripple is set out to achieve this problem, this pain point. In a moment, we're going to get into a quote from Tony McLaughlin talking about how Ethereum is just not going to work. But first, this Missy blockchain white paper that was put together. Okay, this is very important. Listen to this part. So this was before Ripple got sued and everything kind of went, stop mode. Standard Chartered and DBS are working with Ripple's distributed ledger technology to transform physical invoices into digital assets on a shared ledger.
It comes down to this: wouldn't it be great if we started to transact on shared ledgers?
Decentralized ledger, reducing the potential for duplicate invoice financing. It gets even better. Listen to this part. The initiative is focused on Singapore, an emerging fintech hub with the Monetary Authority of Singapore and Infocom Development Authority of Singapore participating in the project. As with trade finance, in order to fully achieve visibility and transparency, all of the parties to a transaction need direct access to the relevant distributed ledger. Do you see this? Everybody needs to be all on board. That's why we need a level playing field, folks. And listen to this part right here. Incumbent software providers in the payment space have recently announced integration with Ripple's cross-border payment solution, providing the architecture to offer real-time cross-border payments at a lower cost to provide bank clients. From the provider's perspective, Ripple is an additional payment rail complementing their existing offerings. Their provider integration approach provides banks with access to Ripple while overcoming compliant contracts and vendor risk assessment, because Ripple has all that in place. The KYC, the compliance, the AML, they have all that in place. So the incumbent software, so let's say Citi's software and Wells Fargo, their software, they just announced that they're gonna go with Ripple, and it's a plug and play system. That's all it is. And listen to what Tony says here. According to McLaughlin, banks may not want to use Ethereum's public chain due to the gas fees that go to bad actors. He suggests that banks may prefer to use a private version of Ethereum for interbank transfers like Citibank's tokenized system. This is because private versions of Ethereum are more secure and banks can ensure that only trusted parties have access to the system. It's just not going to work. Okay, Ethereum and Bitcoin, they're just not going to work. They're distractions. People need to understand that. Where is the real value coming from? These gas fees are never going to go away. The 51% chance on the Bitcoin is not going to go away. You can't implement Bitcoin as a payment rail for sure when you have that risk of a 51% attack. You still have that risk. Banks are risk-free. They don't want risk. So the fact that a 51% attack can happen to Bitcoin, that's a risk they're not willing to take when there is a technology like Ripple and XRP. McLaughlin's insight suggests that banks are taking a cautious approach towards using public blockchains like Ethereum, but are still interested in exploring the technology for their own purposes. And who are the teachers? Ask yourself. Ripple ex-employees that have left Ripple, went to banks, went to new payment rails. They're educating blockchain into their new teams. These banks aren't educated. What's happening for the past 3 years are bank executive directors have been getting educated in this sector because it's coming. You're not stopping it. You're just not stopping it. And when the trillions flood in, they want to know how this works. Folks, we could get fractions of real estate soon. Okay, the world is going to completely change. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with another video. As with trade finance, in order to fully achieve, according to McLaughlin, banks may not want to use Ethereum's
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening. Flip the switch.
I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.